So you want good aim?
Spike planted. Last player standing.
This may as well be the last aim guide you ever need. So get your pens in place, notebooks prepared, and quiet down all that jibber jabber going on in your head, because I'm Zapper, your favorite Immortal 3 yapper. The first step you ever take on your journey to aim mastery actually happened a long time ago. Turns out, the first time you ever touched a mouse, whenever that may have been, was really just you taking your first little baby steps with aiming. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters for good aim is having good mouse control. And that's what aim is. At its teeny tiniest baby form, aim is mouse control. So the better you can handle your mouse, the better you can click heads in Valorant, or really any game of your choosing. I mean, it makes sense why pro players can switch from game to game and have amazing aim no matter what they're playing. It's also why you may have heard things like, your sensitivity doesn't matter, because having good mouse control has nothing to do with your sensitivity, and it has everything to do with using your mouse to move a little tiny reticle on your screen. Turns out, sensitivity just doesn't matter, unless it's way too high or way too low. If you're worried though that yours is too high or too low, just do a quick Google search of your current sensitivity and DPI. And with that, our aim training journey begins. Anyone from noob to intermediate aim skill should be aim training at least a couple times per week. Doing so often enough and for long enough that your mouse control can slowly improve over time. I'd say at minimum your aim training session should last at least 15 minutes. Anything less than that I'd consider a warm up, and if your training sessions are too short, your progress is going to be slowed drastically. Optimally, if you have lots of free time, I'd recommend training about 45 minutes to an hour once a day. Having a structured routine that covers all your bases and tracks your progress is integral at this stage, not only for keeping you motivated, but also for keeping your training focused. In order to master your mouse control, you will need to improve every aspect of your aim. This means your ability to track, flick, micro adjust, and even just things like switching between targets. The easiest way to achieve this is with a tailored training playlist and some form of benchmarking. I personally use Voltaic's Season 4 benchmarks for Kovacs, and I think they have one for AimLab too if you need it. As for training, you could technically just play the benchmark scenarios on repeat, going for high scores, and then switch between them, always focusing on the scenarios at which you are currently scoring the lowest on. I'll be honest, this is how I do it, and while I have seen pretty substantial growth with this strategy, I'm sure if you talk to a top aimer, they would argue to train on different scenarios. If that sounds more up your alley, definitely check out Voltaic's game-specific aim training routines. After we have our routine set up and we have trained for a couple days in a row, we are now feeling super snappy. Aim's feeling crisp, we're just on top of the world. Little did you know, this feeling is fleeting. Your aim will change from day to day, even when aim training. If your aim is suddenly just not hitting one day, you will feel an immense hit to your ego and your confidence, which in most cases results in aim training to come to a screeching halt. When you reach this point, there's only one thing you need to worry about: staying consistent. If you manage to continue training through all these slumps, then over time, your mouse control will continue improving gradually. Just don't get discouraged from one bad day. Those of you who stay training consistently will eventually stumble upon what I like to call point zero. In the beginning, the return on investment for aim training is super high. Aim train consistently for a week and a half, then all of a sudden you're impressing yourself with the shots you're landing inside the game. It takes a really long time, but eventually you're going to reach a point where it becomes much more difficult to quantify the benefits of continuing your aim training inside the game itself. And yeah, that's point zero. After point zero, the necessity of aim training goes away almost completely. Further training will still improve your aim, but once you've gotten this far, the main difference maker between a good aimer and a great aimer is all in the mind. What we like to call our mindset. We all have a mindset going into the game, whether we like it or not. Unfortunately, not all mindsets are built equally. Some players have an advantage with their mindset, and that allows them to skyrocket to success. If your aim feels inconsistent or progress feels sluggish, then this is what you gotta do. I learned this from a tennis book, and you might have heard of it before. It's called The Inner Game of Tennis. But a lot of people misunderstand what the author is trying to say, but here's the best way to get value out of a good mindset. All you need to do is pick one skill to focus on per day. This could be your micro adjustments, flicks, or even something game specific like crosshair placement. Let's say today is a micro adjustment day. While working on our micro adjustments, instead of trying to force perfection every time or judging our micro corrections as good or bad, we are simply going to observe our micro corrections.
40.
Without going too deep into the science, doing this allows the refinement of skills without disruption of any of our natural instincts. Basically, we're just utilizing the flow state.
One enemy remaining.
Nice.
As of now, there is no cap to the amount of aim gains you can get that we know of. Moving can also be considered a form of aiming because your crosshair moves when you move, and so it's important to also play your game of choice after each aim training session. To sum it all up, aim improves as your mouse control improves. So having a training routine that you can stay consistent with is super important. A bad mindset can easily stall all of your gains, so it's best to minimize your self-judgments and just focus on one skill at a time. Good mindset plus consistent training equals limitless progress.
Back on.
Enemy remaining. Taken out. Go away. Spike down A. One enemy remaining.
Time guys.
Last player standing. One enemy remaining.
This one's hit it. Nice.
Wait, you're shooting.
Planted. Last player standing. One enemy remaining.
Nice.
Oh, win it.
One enemy remaining.
Three souls.